Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakdown Podcast YouTube channel. My name's Corey, and once again, to help me break down this season of Superman and Lois, it's Vic.
Of Loki and Lois. It's me, Vic. he's still getting warmed back up, folks.
it's the ultimate Marvel and DC
crossover.
It's Loki and Lois, live from Smallville. It's a new morning show.
Yeah.
No, seriously, we are going to break down episode 2 of season 2. Is it season 2?
It is season 2.
Season 2 of Superman and Lois. But first, before we do want to let you know that we do have a show that we do live every Tuesday. It is available on Twitch at twitch.tv/MillerKing_51. The link is in the description down below. So if you come by at 7 p.m. Eastern, join the chat. We're currently talking about Book of Boba Fett as well as Cobra Kai. Come by, have some fun with us. And if you can't, we do have the show available as well on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. So, Vic, without further ado, let's break down episode 2.
And in episode 2 of Lois and Clark, there's mine.
There you go. How long before we call it Smallville?
Yeah, pretty much. No, I don't have that problem. It's just the Lois and Clark or Superman and Lois. It's I can't do it. The Ties That Bind is this episode's title. Is that a movie as well, Corey? Just checking to make sure. Okay, cool. So in this episode, Clark again is suffering from massive headaches still. Every time there is an eruption. Every time there is an earthquake or something happens, like he just gets hit with that blinding, searing vision quest pain in which he is seeing something, but he can't quite make out what it is. He comes to the conclusion that he thinks what I thought it was at first as well, and they kind of bear it out in this episode. He's like, what did you do to me? Is it possible that I'm still seeing people's visions from when you used the Eradicator on me? And Talro is like, what's up, bro? He doesn't care anything he's saying. He's just like, oh, I'm glad you came to see me.
Oh, you want to come see me now?
Yeah, now you want to say hi. Good.
Just to put a pin in that for just a second, The Ties That Bind is actually a 57-minute, I don't know, short film starring Bruce Springsteen. There's also a TV show with Ralph Macchio.
Oh my lord!
So there you go.
Okay, moving on.
I just had to get that in.
So Tal's like,
we're gonna do that every episode.
Oh my god! So Tal is like, he's like, dude, I don't know what's wrong with you. He's like, I had more Kryptonians in my being than you have.
I've had so many Kryptonians up in me.
Yeah, so oh my god, you just turned this really bad. And he's like, and I don't have this issue, so whatever this is, it wasn't caused by the Eradicator. However, if you were to let me out, take me to my Fortress of Solitude, I may be able to figure out what's going on. But don't worry.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I have no powers. You've already taken care of that. You and John Henry hit me with the Sunbeam missile, and then you've kept me in this red sunlight room, which honestly, in every incarnation of Superman, has just made Superman angry, so I don't know why he's so calm right now. I'm not incorrect with that. Right? Like the red...
No, that was red kryptonite.
Oh, it's red kryptonite, not red sunlight. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my brain is not hurt anymore. It's like, this is not right. But he's like, yeah, you guys have kept me in this crap, and I don't have any more powers. You can trust me. Wink, wink.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
That's worked in so many movies before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Superman's no dummy, though. He's like, yeah, right.
Yeah. Superman also runs into... Mr. Kanowski. And Mr. Kanowski in the comic books, I don't know why I keep saying it like that, he is kind of a mercenary slash Punishers type character, so you'd probably like him. But that's the dude that was in the garage shooting the guns at the cops who apparently can't shoot back.
That's the airport. That's the airport team.
Yeah, who apparently they can't shoot back at him because he's shooting so fast with the one gun that not one cop there can take a shot at him. And he's holding a couple people hostage.
How do we know that that's his name? Did they mention him at all?
I know who he is.
That's not the question.
No, they didn't give you a direct name of the guy. I just know who he is. But
Well, that's who you
also,
think it is.
well, credits, dude, credits.
Oh, that's true.
That's how I know who he is. It gives you the credits. It tells you who the person was. It was Philip Kronowski.
President just say armed shooter at airport.
Yeah, no, but so he which also they did the same thing. They used the same character in Supergirl at one point too. I just don't remember.
Is it the same actor?
I don't remember. Like
because
literally
we're in the same world here.
Now. We are now. We were not when this happened.
When that character was in there?
Yeah, because it was before Crisis. So at that point they were on her Earth, which was a different Earth. But they like reusing the characters to show now that they've merged all the planets. I think that all the Earth of those Earths. So now the Earth Prime has merged. They're all on the same Earth. They like reusing the characters just to show that that's happened. But he's holding them all down. Superman flies in and saves the day, or so we think, because he knocks Kronowski off his feet, and I'm like, dude, Superman going at terminal velocity, suddenly stopping and punching you. Like, there's math that says that dude should have been like through that wall in a puddle of goo.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
even if Superman pulled his punch, just how fast he was moving when he hit him still would have done massive damage. However, he gets up, he uses a very familiar injection mechanism. Did you notice how closely that thing looks to the orange mist from Titan? Remember when Red Hood took the venom?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty much the same exact delivery mechanism. It's like an inhaler with a gas mask thing on it. He huffs some XK. I'm just saying. It looked very much the same. Yeah. So he huffs the XK and gives himself some superpowers. And apparently, through the course of the episode, we find out that XK is a very, very high commodity on the black market. And in this particular incarnation of Kronowski, he's probably like a drug dealer / smuggler or something, which would explain why he has like the little airplane that he has and all that stuff. He's probably like smuggling XK out of Smallville. But we have no real reason or understanding as to why all of this is going on. But what it does allow them to do is send in the super kids. So all of the superlings show up from the DOD. They take him out, and we see Tag again for the first time in this season, who showed up a couple times last season, but he was very, very messed up. Like, he couldn't control his powers whatsoever. However, in this episode, they show him just zip-zopping around like he's the Flash, and he ends up taking out, helping the other two to take out Kronowski.
Yeah, and that's when Superman wakes up.
Yeah, he passes out.
The previous video.
He passes out, and when he wakes up, he's at the DOD.
Yeah, he's at DOD, and he's like, that kid's only 19. He's like, yeah, he's fast, and they just kind of leave it there.
Yeah,
kind of end it there. So you already know what the DOD is thinking.
Yeah,
they're thinking positive. Yes, Superman's thinking the opposite because he knows. He knows side effects. He knows what this could do to these kids, and to get them involved at such a young age is not what he particularly likes. But let's be fair. In order to get in the Army or any of the armed forces, you have to be graduated from high school, which is usually 17, 18 years old. This kid could theoretically be in one of the armed services as well, too. So that's why the government isn't thinking anything differently.
However, when they took him, he was only like 16, 17 years old.
True.
But with that being said, Anderson explains to him, he's like, look, I have this team. I don't need you anymore. You are not of any importance to me. So all of the privileges, all the privileges that you had here at the DOD, yeah, pretty much rescinded.
He looked at Superman and said, you're an expendable. And so, in Expendables 4, we're going to have Superman.
Nice. So yeah, he basically dismisses Superman because he thinks he doesn't need them anymore. The problem is those kids are going to, as we know, it's going to come down because of the end of last episode, we saw that Doomsday arm. It's Doomsday. There's no two ways about it. When those kids come up against him, because that's what's going to happen. He's going to pop out somewhere. He's going to start a massive fight, and Anderson's going to send him after him. And when they go up against him, he's going to kill one of them. For one, and I'm sure I know which one it's going to end up being.
I'm sure I do.
And too. once that happens, he's going to be like, "Oh my God, Superman, we need your help. Our kids can't handle this." And Superman's going to be like, "I thought your kids could handle anything," and turn around and walk away. That's what he should do, but it's not what he's going to do. He's going to step in and
because he's better than that.
Yeah, he's going to step in. But that's my crackpot prediction coming forward. But moving on. Lois finds out that some story she did like years ago has popped back up into the mainstay, obviously because of the internet, and obviously because someone wanted to make a name for themselves. This podcast wanted to make a name for itself. So one of those true crime type podcasts dug up the old story about Lois when she went up against some David Koresh type dude. And her main source, her main source in this was heavily protected from being outed, and apparently that heavily protected source is now singing like a jaybird. And it's causing problems for the Gazette because Chrissy's like, I know you think this is going to blow over because that's what you're saying, but things like this have sunk bigger, publications. We are a little tiny paper in a little tiny town, which is why you need to worry about it a little tiny bit. You're not important. The Gazette, the Smallville Gazette is a nothing paper that has a distribution to probably Smallville and the two neighboring towns. Because the other town is only 30 minutes away one way and 40 minutes away the other, so I'm sure they probably distribute out to those two towns too. But that's probably it.
I think first of all, I think she's overreacting.
Yeah.
Second of all, I don't like this story arc. I think it's stupid, and it lends nothing to the overall story that's going on in terms of what else we're saying in these two episodes.
I think you're a little early on that.
I could be
mainly because the whole idea behind it is who the source is, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, but I don't want to I don't want to put it out there yet.
Well, yeah, I know, and we find out in this episode who that source is, but even still, I in all the story arcs that we've got going on, this is the least story arc that I care about.
Right.
This is at the very bottom. It's so stupid. It's so pointless. I'd rather there be more focus on those other stories that are going on. The one with Superman and the one with the boys as well too, because there is as we'll see later in this episode, they do have a connection to Superman's arc even.
Right.
So I'd rather see that than anything else. But carry on.
So Chrissy and Lois kind of have it out about this whole situation. She's like, "Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. It'll all blow over. I vetted all of my sources. No one's going to talk. This lady is just trying to dig up, trying to start mess in order to bring, views to her podcast. And I'm a big target. I've been targeted like this before. It's always blown over. Don't worry about it." So Chrissy's like, "Well, you better be right about this, but we have an interview to do." So they go to the mines and they're going to talk to one of the DOD contractors, Dr. Faulkner.
Doctor, I don't care. In all seriousness,
hold on. Though
when she came out and she's talking, she's answering questions and everything seems okay, but there's still that slight hint of I don't trust this character.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna tell you, as she sat there and as she sat there and talked, and it's because I've become accustomed to how these shows go, I knew that she was not telling the truth.
Telling the truth about what, though? What do you feel? What did you feel she wasn't telling the truth about?
Her motives of being there.
Okay.
And I didn't believe any of it. her answers came off as untruthful, and just her whole tone. And again, that stems from watching enough of these CW shows.
Yeah. So
where this is a trope that's common throughout the whole thing, throughout so many of their different shows, and it's just like, we're gonna put this character in here and make you think that they're gonna say all the positive things, and then we're gonna flip it, and it's gonna turn out, oh look, they were bad all along. Yeah, we kind of fucking knew that.
Well, it comes down to her.
Done this so many other times.
Yeah, it comes down to her giving her this happy jovial, we're trying to do things the right way, we're trying to save people from the XK, blah blah blah. But you can tell it's kind of like that pre-written press release that they get, that they said, these are the things that you can talk about, these are the things you can't talk about. Just let them know how smart you are and that you're working on the problem. And like, that's where that goes to, literally, like, that's exactly what happens. And but they're trying to find out from her, do you know what's causing the tremors, because they've been localized to the mines? And Dr. Faulkner's like, no, I don't know what it is exactly, but we're trying to find out. And that's where she is.
Now, let's go ahead and wrap up her story arc, because she's only in one other scene. And I know it happens at the end.
Yeah. But, I don't really want. Let's save it to the end. Yeah, because there's some things in there that I'm kind of happy that happened. So I want I want it to kind of set to marinate. What's her face had a big party last episode. I forgot to. It was last episode. Or was it this episode? Was it this episode they had the party? No, it was last episode. So last episode, Lana had a house party for the mayoral candidate, Mr. Hart. And he was she was introducing him to the locals of the area. And that's why I was like, who is this guy that nobody knows who he is? Like, she's having this thing and nobody knows who this guy is. Like, they shouldn't be meeting him for the first time if he's trying to be mayor of that city. Like, he should already be established there. Too. Yeah. Like, everybody knows everybody. Like, how do you not know this guy and what he stands for? Which is fine, because now you do need to ask the question. So what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about the teachers' salaries, yada, yada, all that stuff, right? And obviously the coach is the one, leading the charge. Like, we need more money. Are you going to give us more money? If you're not going to give us more money, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Oh, you're going to give us more money? That's my man. Like, okay. Yeah. I get it. I understand it, but whatever. And after he, glad hands with everybody, he disappears. And in this episode, I think they were kind of trying to set up one of those town hall meetings at the diner.
No, I think it was one of those. It was one of those meetings. It wasn't a town hall meeting. It was he is meeting. Are they called constituents?
Yes, they're the constituents. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, just to meet them and kind of have a public forum.
Right, but that's called a town hall. Whenever a person of import. It's called a town hall, but he can't use town hall because he's not the mayor. So they're doing it in the diner. And this is the people's chance to talk to him, ask him the questions they want to ask him. They got to meet him last episode. Now they get to kind of drill down on and he has to talk to them about why he should be mayor and they should vote for him. But he doesn't show up. He just kind of he doesn't call, he doesn't do anything, he just doesn't show up. And then when he does show up, after Lois apparently walks in on the mayor kind of snooping in on their business as he's leaving the diner, he's like, yeah, I need to talk to you real quick. I'm dropping out of the race because I got offered a job in the next town over and I'm going to take it because time's been hard and it's important for me to take this job right this second.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're running for mayor. You literally have no financial worries if you win this race. And you're going to step out and become a businessman in the next town over that I am 100% positive, because they've talked about the town that he's going to is having the same financial woes that they are, because that town also is a mining town. So where are you going? What are you going to do that you couldn't do in Smallville? Take the freaking job. But like you said, he wasn't meant to.
If it wasn't painfully obvious, my guess is the mayor, current mayor of Smallville, called up that other town, got something arranged, got that dude a job.
Yep.
Boom. He gets to continue on. But what he doesn't expect is for Lana to decide to take over.
Right. Instead of finding someone else, she decides to do it herself.
Yeah, she spends the rest of the episode trying to find.
We already knew you were going to do this at the end of last season. Why are you? I understand what you're saying. Like that whole thing with the wrestling analogy is the perfect analogy for it. I do get that. Like that makes perfect sense to me, and when you put it that way. But I'm just like, it's an unnecessary step.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what they did, but they didn't need to,
right?
Because you had already set up at the end of last season that she was really concerned about the town.
Yeah,
she really cared for the town. You already built her up to take that next step.
Right. She is the new Mom Kent. She's the new Martha Kent for Smallville. Like she's the one that cares for everybody and everything in that town. And you built that up very well last season. Like you showed in every aspect from the point where she took the job with Talro all the way up to the point where she took responsibility for what happened and tried to fix it and volunteered to fix it. Like we know that this is who she is. Why wouldn't she run for mayor against this idiot? Like it doesn't make sense, but they chose this route, so that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's something I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning behind that is. But it seems to me like I think sometimes when writers on these shows, they forget how to structure a story arc.
Right.
And it's like they start putting in these things that don't need to be there. It's like, look, if you want her to eventually take over as mayor, you've already built her up through season 1 to have that. That's what a story arc is.
Right.
It's not something that's surprising to somebody, because if you didn't have any of that stuff and then you drop her into this for this season, that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of having this middle person come in for the episode and a half, that technically makes sense.
Right.
But because you had all that stuff in season 1, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And I don't know why these writers don't think long term and slowly gradually build stuff up. And that kind of leads to something else that I don't want to talk about here, but
okay.
I don't like what they've done, but they're fixing it ultimately.
Right. So at the end of last episode, I don't think I mentioned this, but John Henry calls John Henry Irons calls Lois, and he's like, "Hey, I need your help." And they end up in this episode. This is where they move back to Smallville, and he's like, "I need to, we need to talk." And she ends up talking to Natalie, and apologizing. She apologizes to
his daughter.
She apologizes to Clark first, and she's like, "This is what's going on. It was a bad trip about what happened when because my mom left us. It just kind of came back to me like I had no feelings about this little girl when I should have, because I'm her mom in a whole nother world. And I'm sorry, because I'm her mom and I was her mom." And he's like, "No, you weren't. Like, that's the point. Like, you were not her mother. You were not responsible for her. You don't need to feel guilty about this, but you can help her by just being there for her, because she desperately wants a mother figure. Like, we can see this. And you, as a mother figure for her, is probably the best idea, considering in another world, you are her mother." And, you're all of this guilt and stuff she's feeling. Kent's like, Clark's like, he's like, "I understand." And she's like, "Well, I'm sorry for yelling at you. I yelled at Jordan because he didn't want to tell me what was going on with his girlfriend." And poor Jordan is just like, I've got a problem that I'd probably like to talk to you about. However, you're being a real booch and I'm going up to my room. So bye." And he just takes off. But it's because she is being so freaking mean to everybody. But she apologizes for it, and she does end up talking to Natalie, and she invites Natalie and John Henry to live with them. I thought they were going to live on the property in the camper, but apparently no, they moved into the house. Or at least Natalie did. I'm not sure if he did, but at least Natalie did. She took one of the boys' rooms, and now she just lives there. I'm like, okay, that's an odd, interesting choice, but whatever. And she becomes a part of their family. We find out she's vegan, of course, and she goes to.
You're from another damn Earth, and they're still a vegan.
Think about it, though. She's from a decimated planet that probably didn't have very much meat left, so veganism is probably something they had to go with. Because it's a little easier to eat some acorns than it is to find a squirrel.
I was just like, damn it, seriously.
Yeah, no, I get it in the context of the world, and I think that's really what it is. More so,
it was just the tone that was said.
But you have to remember, she's trying to be obstinate too. She's not. She wants to give her a hard time because she doesn't like the idea of it. Right. So.
You're right, but to me, it came off as I'm vegan.
Like, how dare you put this meat protein in front of me? But yeah, so which is kind of funny because I had vegan hot dogs for dinner last night and they were really good. Anyway, I know it's just a weird statement, dude. No, it was excellent.
You know what? If I'm gonna eat a hot dog, I want the stuff in there that I don't know what it is in the first place.
That's a vegan hot dog. Yeah.
No, not well, yeah, it's also in a normal hot dog.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So she ends up going to school with the boys. And Jordan introduces Natalie to why can't I remember this girl's name?
His girlfriend.
Yeah. I can't remember her name.
Remember her name. I have trouble with names. I'm surprised I remember Superman and Lois.
Sarah. My sister-in-law's name is Sarah. Her name is Sarah. Okay, so he introduces Natalie to Sarah, and they kind of hit it off. They start talking about, her being in shop class, and since she's in shop class, she'll fit in well in the area. And she's like, yeah, I like mechanical stuff. And I'm really mechanically inclined. And she's like, oh, really? My dad and I are trying to rebuild this old Firebird. And she's like, oh, really? Well, that's easy enough to fix. You just got to do this. And then, of course, a couple scenes later, she fixes the car.
No, and I'm calling bullshit on that.
Okay.
That all happened. Not only did she diagnose the problem with the car without seeing it, but she also fixed it in the same day. No, I'm calling BS on that. As somebody that watches, I only watch one YouTube channel that.
I was about to say, hold on. How much do you know? How much do you know about fixing cars, really?
I watch a YouTube channel where they do it. They put out 3 videos a week. Shout out to Goon Squad. But yeah, there's no way that she was able to do that, especially considering she's from another planet. Who knows that they even have those type of cars on that Earth in the first place?
They definitely do.
I don't know. To me, this was all the thing to get the two of them to bond so they become friends.
What else are you gonna do?
But I think there was a better way of doing it, because here's the thing: that whole building that car and repairing it, that was her dad's thing, and from what she said, it was her and her dad's thing. Now they just took that away from the two of them. As they were building, as they spent the end of last season and the beginning of this season building that relationship back up, and they took the one thing that those two had going on that she even openly admitted to having, and just took it away in one episode by her going in and fixing it.
So
I don't like that. Sure, maybe that's me being a little over dramatic, but it's a little thing. I think they could have done something better.
I feel like you might be being a little over dramatic, because all she did was got the car to start. There's still a whole lot more to that car that needs to be fixed.
Was the problem, though.
Than getting that car started.
It's easy.
Well, it doesn't matter. They could still the dad and Sarah can still work on it. Now that it runs, they can drive it. He can teach her how to drive the car. Like, it's literally being put together for her. They couldn't get it started, so he couldn't teach her how to drive it. Now he can. Like, she literally created an avenue for them to spend more time together. You have to look at the silver linings on something.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to play out that way.
The entire idea behind this was to just prove the fact that she is smarter than the average bear. She can look at anything mechanical. She can look at mechanical things and she can do things with them. That's the whole idea. And when she brings up the bunker and she's like, a bunker? Where did you guys live? Were you like doomsday preppers? And she's like, no, that's just what we called my dad's garage. I was like, good save, kid. I was like, that was a good save. I was pretty good. I was pretty happy about that one. But yeah, so she gets the car running, which then forges this friendship between the two of them, which is obviously gonna drive a wedge even further between Jordan and her, because in this episode, she finally comes clean to Jordan that the reason why she's been acting so weird is because she did something that she shouldn't have while she was at summer camp.
And he kissed a girl and she liked it.
Yes.
To quote Katy Perry.
Well, she didn't necessarily deny that she liked it, but he was like, "So, are you in love with this girl?" And she's like, "No, it's not like that at all." And he's
I'm
like,
going to call it right now.
Okay.
I'm going to call it right now because it's a CW.
They're not going to put the two of them together.
They're going to.
I don't think they will.
Yep.
I don't think it'll happen.
And this is the start of that wedge.
I don't think it'll happen. There's definitely going to be a wedge. That's 100% for sure true. But I feel like they're going to use Natalie to push them back together.
Nope. Watch. It's going to be the thing that puts the wedge,
the nail in their coffin.
And yeah, and when you look at what he's going through with Superman and his uncle, that's a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. Guarantee it. You can clip this right now. She's gonna be the two girls are gonna end up together.
All right,
guarantee it. Because why else would you say that while she was at camp she kissed another girl? Why couldn't she have kissed a boy?
But they would have made some kind of a reference to the fact that they're doing that obviously to.
No, here
they're doing the her kissing a girl thing as an inclusion thing, but I think that what you're missing is that she's getting to the point where she's going to think of the Kent boys as her brothers. She's not going to do it. I guarantee you, she's not going to do it.
Hopefully that's the case.
We'll see. We'll see who ends up winning this one, sir.
Like I said, being the CW, the fact that they made it a point that it was a girl that she kissed, that's the seedling that by the end of the season, the two of them are going to end up dating.
We'll see.
If they don't date, they are at least going to have a scene. They're going to have some kind of scene together. And then they're going to realize this is a mistake. It's going to go down that route. I guarantee it.
I don't think that's what's going to happen, but either way. But because of that harsh reality that Jordan was just shoved down his throat, when Superman is about to go see Tal again and take him up on his offer to take him to his Fortress of Solitude, Jordan's like, let me go with you. He's like, look, I need to do something to keep my mind off all this crap. I want to go with you. I can back you up. I can keep an eye on him so that, he doesn't get the drop on you. I can do this, Dad. And he's like, all right, let's go. So they fly to get Tal-Rho. Then they fly him to his Fortress of Solitude, in which he shows him that, hey, buddy, guess what I got? Mom in a crystal. They destroyed his father, but they brought his mommy back.
Yeah.
And she explains to him.
This is a version of the mom that doesn't know the brother exists, because it was a point in her life prior to finding out that's in there.
No, this was a little confusing. This was a little confusing.
Yeah.
Because she knows who Tal-Rho is, and she definitely knows who Kal-El is, right?
Yes.
So if this was before or after either one of them, how does she know who they are? Because the whole thing is she was promised to Tal-Rho's father, right? And in being promised to Tal-Rho's father, they genetically engineered Tal-Rho as their child. After that happened, after that whole thing went through, she then fell in love with Kal-El's father and had a natural-born son with him, who is Superman. Yes. So she was in the know and involved with both of these kids at some point, because
this version that we saw in this episode, according to what they said, had not known yet that he was that Kal-El's brother had been created.
But he's older than Kal-El.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
The version we saw last season was saved at a point where she did know at that point.
Right, correct.
So that was a later version.
Understood.
So that's why she knows. this version doesn't know yet.
This
It has to be
version,
introduced.
if this version of her had to have known who Talro was, because she makes mention of the fact that he was such a good boy, like he had a good heart. Like she makes mention of him in the past tense.
Come back later.
So it's impossible for her to have not known who he was, because he's older than Kal-El. The whole thing with Kal-El, and the way they talked about it was that this is a version of her before she was corrupted by Kal-El's father. But if that's the case, then it would have been a version of her before Kal-El was born, and that version of her shouldn't have known who Kal-El was. They mixed the dialogue so badly in this that it did not make sense as to her not knowing or knowing who each one of them was. Now, if they had done something like, oh, well, I've watched you, like if she said, oh, Talro, I'm so glad to see you as an adult. I've watched you from afar. Like that kind of thing, like, okay, that makes sense, because she left him with his father, and then she had Kal-El, but she still may have been watching over Talro in his youth before he got shipped off planet. Like that kind of thing. Or like, I was so sad when you disappeared, or your father sent you away, or something that made more sense. But that interaction between them was just all funky.
The only thing I can think of is, yes, she watched him from afar, so she saw him as a kid, but didn't know what he looked like when he got older, and so that's why she didn't know that was him. And then, because I think at one point, she wouldn't have known what Kal-El looked like as an older person.
That's true. Yeah. Because, and then if you go, oh well, he looks like his dad, it's like, okay, well, Talro probably looks like her or his dad, so she still should have known. Like, your kid. If Christian walked in a room and I hadn't seen him in 10 years, I'd know that was Christian in a heartbeat. Like, it's just the way. Christian's my son, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. But
good.
Like, it's just a weird interaction. So she starts to talk to him. He's like, hey, is it possible that this happened, because of the Eradicator? And Talro's like, yeah, he thinks the Eradicator did something to him. And she's like, no. She's like, I shouldn't have built that stupid machine. I'm like, well, that hindsight's 2020. But she's like, it doesn't work that way, yada yada. And she's like, you're seeing visions of a fellow Kryptonian because of proximity, I guess. But if that's the case, why didn't he ever get that same situation when he came across Talro?
Why is it just now coming about?
Yeah, like, why is it all of a sudden this is a thing? I mean, mind you, maybe the Eradicator did do something to his head, and now he's seeing that. And because Talro is depowered, quote unquote, he's not having that same issue.
No, and I call BS on that too.
Yeah, but whatever. But then Talro like snaps his binds and then goes after Superman, which I was like, those were kryptonite handcuffs. They were designed to hold Kryptonians in place without having to worry about them escaping. Why did you just put regular handcuffs on him? Because he just snapped them in half, because they had to take him through Yellow Sun to get him there.
Because Superman, if he had to put the handcuffs on him, he would be subject to the kryptonite as well.
The guards there.
The guards could have done it.
Yeah. And they could have delivered him there by helicopter and not had to worry about it.
Find a logical reason.
There's no logic. There's no logic. I'm just saying. But
why do I keep trying to put logic into these shows?
He gets into a fight with Kal-El, and Jordan jumps in, and he's like, "Kid, back off, because you're gonna get hurt. There's nothing you can do to me. Step off. I will snap your neck." And he hits him with his eye beams, and he's like, "Oh, hold on. Puppy's got fangs," which I was like, "There we go."
Which is what they set up kind of in the first episode, that he had been practicing and stuff too. So this doesn't really come as a surprise. So that was I like this in terms of the writing, because without those previous scenes in the first episode, you'd be like, oh, what, he knows he now has full control over this now? There was no build up to this. We had the build up in episode 1, so kudos for that.
So while all this is going on, another earthquake happens. Kal-El is debilitated again, and while he is debilitated, Talro threatens to snap Jordan's neck and kill him, but the mother kind of talks him into being the better person. Kal-El kind of comes to a little bit.
Did that remind you of Mortal Kombat? The beginning of Mortal Kombat, where Shang Tsung has Liu Kang's brother from behind and is holding by his head. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. Anytime I've seen that come up on something else as well.
Yeah,
it always makes me think of Mortal Kombat.
Well, he does end up letting him go eventually, but while all this is going on, the whole tremor situation, Lois has told Chrissy, she's like, I've got a specialist I'm going to have take a look at these tremors and see if they can give us any information, and that specialist is John Henry Irons, who, along with everything else, he's a geologist as well, and he is monitoring the earthquakes. Earthquake goes off. Obviously, they sink into the mine, and there are miners down there working, and they're being attacked by something. And Dr. Faulkner is trying to get through to them, which they're not responding, and this thing is just tearing them apart. And as he is tearing them apart, one of the guys is like, "I got a bomb!" Like, what? Why do you have this? Like, why did you rig this thing to go off like that? Like, is this your plan? Like, were you like, we're just gonna blow up this portion of the mine and then go in and dig it out afterwards? Like, that's not exactly how they do things. But he gets scared because this thing has eradicated. Why do I keep saying this thing? Doomsday has eradicated everybody else in the mine, and this guy's like, I'm not gonna let you do that to me. So he detonates the mine and in hopes of bringing it down on Doomsday,
much to the
who just climbed out of the mine. So
much to the chagrin of the faker in charge, yelling at him, telling him not to do it.
Yeah,
and so you find out she gets on the phone and at the end of the episode and seems to know a little bit more than what she's played out, because she makes reference to how does she put it? Did she say something like he's here or something like that, or something to that effect?
I don't remember what it was, but I know that she saw there was a video of what was going on in the mine, and at one point they kind of freeze frame on this like hulking outline with 3 lights on it or 4 lights on it that look like headlights, but it was definitely like a humanoid shape, and I'm going, that looks a suspicious amount like the Buckethead suit from Iron Man 1 with 4 headlights on it. And then I was like, okay, they actually went with the full story that I spoke about earlier about where he was encased in that suit, and that might be what that is that's that death suit that they put on him to try to contain him, but he's been trapped under Earth inside of that suit that entire time, and that's why he's mad and digging his way out now. But I was just like, when I saw the outline of it, I was like, so we saw his hand like come out through the thing with the spikes on it, and nothing about that outline said that. So I'm not actually 100% positive that that's Doomsday. In like that outline was supposed to be him, because if it is, it's awfully smooth for someone who's basically made out of gigantic rocky spikes. Right. Like, I don't know, like, but then I thought about, well, maybe if they are going with that storyline that he was ejected from that planet in that like that death shroud armor, and then he hit the Earth and ends up, buried underneath the Earth thousands of years prior to the existence of, modern man, then that would kind of explain what's going on. It's just the fact he just happened to dig his way up into Smallville. Too much of a coincidence for me. Yeah. Like, how is it Smallville gets hit with every alien projectile that comes down to Earth?
Yeah, so clearly she knows what's going on, and so yeah, I told you in episode 1.
Told you
when they introduced her, or was it episode 1 or was it the beginning?
It was episode 1.
Either way, when they introduced her, I was like, I knew that she knew more than that she was leading on. And I called that one, so chalk that one up to me. Put a little 1 right there, like a +1.
Oh, okay.
You can do that in editing. So anyhow, what else are we missing?
So Tyrell gets sent back to jail. Lana decides that she's going to run for mayor, and they make out on top of that table again for whatever reason. That's what they keep doing with those two. It's disgusting. Because the daughter, and it's mainly because the daughter keeps walking in on them every time they try to do it.
First of all, I think it's hilarious. Second of all, I'm glad to see it.
Yeah,
we don't see enough
intimacy between couples. Yes. The other problem with this episode again is they have shown that family several times on several occasions. A house party at a restaurant, in the kitchen, getting ready to make out and have fun with the family or whatever. However they're doing whatever. The younger daughter still is not around. But then it came to me, didn't they say they were sending her to a boarding school somewhere? I thought at the end of last season that they said something about her going to a special school.
If they did that, they pulled one of those Richie Cunningham type situations from Happy Days, where his brother goes upstairs and never returns.
So that's what they did. So here's what the situation is.
To a boarding school.
I don't know what that kid looks like now, but I bet you any amount of money, Sarah didn't grow over the summer, and the little sister did.
I don't remember what the girl looked like in the first season.
I don't remember exactly either, but I seem to vaguely remember thinking, why does she look so Asian compared to the rest of them? But anyway, I bet you any amount of money that's what happened. If she shows back up, there's going to be a very marked difference between the two sisters. That she's going to look like she's the big sister, and I think that might be what happened. Like, because she had a growth spurt and Sarah didn't have as much as one, she's like taller and looks more mature at this point than Sarah, so it makes it kind of hard for them to be like, yeah, this is my little sister.
Ultimately, I think it comes down to the fact that they didn't really have a storyline for her, and for whatever
reason, there's no way to connect her.
They introduced the character, and they're like, well, what are we going to do with her?
There's no way to connect her to the kids side of the story, because there's nobody in her age group to communicate to like be part of, other than her sister, who they made this like big sisterly bond between them. Like, they show that they had a very strong connection, that they were very close sisters. However, the close sister that's supposed to take care of her never mentions or talks to her in any episodes until they specifically needed to. So I don't know. That happens. Dr. Faulkner calls her boss, which is obviously what's his face from the DOD, I'm sure. Because I'm pretty sure she's mining that X kryptonite for him so he can process it and then give it to kids. You think it's another you think it's Lex Luthor, don't you?
I never thought about that, but maybe.
That's what I just thought you would have thought.
I actually hadn't thought it far enough through, but I mean, that's certainly a possibility. I don't think it's DOD. I think there's somebody either that has not been introduced yet or has been, and they're just going to hold on to it until towards the end of the season. I don't think we're going to find anything. I think there's going to be more clues,
right?
But I don't think it's going to be at least halfway through the season before we find out the true person behind that.
Gotcha. So the final note on the episode is that Chrissy is talking to Lois, and she's like, I need you to tell me who your source is. She's like, I'm not going to give you that information. I vetted all of them. They're like, well, here's the problem. One of your sources is coming forward. And whoever it is, it's your key witness to everything that went on. And she's like, that's impossible. There's no way that's happening. And she's like, why? She's like, because it was my sister. And she's like, she wouldn't do that to me. Like, well, apparently Lacey would, because Lacey, if I remember correctly, was not the happiest person in the world with Lana in most cases. With Lois in most cases. So I don't know. I know that there's a storyline in the comic books where she ends up in the military working for her dad, and she ends up I think she becomes some sort of a super soldier type situation. But I don't remember exactly what the story behind her was. I'd have to read it again. But there's a whole thing. There's a whole thing back there. But yeah, she was, in this case, she was inducted into a cult. She helped bring the cult down from the inside with her sister's help on the outside doing the newspaper thing. So I don't know. It's an interesting. There's going to be some sort of an odd, occult-esque type situation going on, and it could possibly be that could be who the boss is. Maybe whoever Lana was dealing with. Lacey was dealing with is somebody who's coming back to get back at them, and they're going to take down what you call it instead. But
I think that's just a B storyline. It's not going to mix with the A storyline, and
I still think it's the DoD. I think if it's not the DoD, then this is how they introduce Lex into the storyline. This the shell corporation that's underneath of LexCorp is what the Dr. Faulkner works for. You find out that it's just a shell company for LexCorp, and then she's actually reporting back to him, because it would make sense make sense for Lex to try to get a hold of Doomsday. We've seen this story before. However, with that being said, I hope that they're not leading up to where Doomsday kills Superman. Spoiler alert. It happened. Read the comic book. But could you imagine if they did something like that? Like, it would be rough.
It would be, but I don't foresee it happening.
Oh,
I mean, you could do it.
Yeah, it just seems like it's like that's the big storyline around Doomsday. Like, that's the huge thing about Doomsday, is that he ends Superman. So it'd be interesting to see if they try to do something like that. I mean, it would be a good cliffhanger for the end of the season. Like, he snaps Superman's back, and then you have to wait till next season to find out what happened. But
here's what you could do. This might be unprecedented, and I say that because Superman is in the name of the show.
Mm-hmm.
If Doomsday kills Superman, you're killing off somebody that's in the title of the show. Why would you do that? Well, if you think about it, you did that in they did that in the comics, and then they had the Funeral for a Friend series that came out, which was everybody else dealing with the death of Superman. You could kind of go that route a little bit.
So the other part to that is when they killed off Superman, there were all of the other Supermen in waiting. So you had John Henry Irons come in because Superman disappeared, which he's already got him here. I mean, you have the
ones we've already introduced in these first two episodes.
Right. You have what's his name? Jordan, who was like, well, if my dad's not going to be here, then I'll take over his legacy, blah blah blah, kind of thing that could happen. I mean, there's just a lot that could happen. I mean, all of a sudden, maybe Jonathan Kent, his powers because of the death of his father emerge. He comes out as an angry Superboy, and ends up trying to take over for his dad to prove to everyone that he can do it. Like, there's a lot of interesting things that could come out of it. I just don't think.
Same time,
I don't know if that's a risk they would take this early, like in season 2.
At the same time, though, in the comics, he ends up coming back.
Yeah, definitely.
So you could still go that whole route.
Yeah. So one last thing.
It's weird. It's weird since it's titled Superman and Lois, and he's dead. And they're dealing with other Supermen, but.
I mean, it's not Clark Kent and Lois, though. It's Superman and Lois. So as long as there is a Superman involved,
I think it would be a very big deal. I would, if they handled it correctly and went that route, and then eventually brought him back like they did in the comics. I think, and if they pulled it off well enough, I would give you'd got to give them props for doing something like that, because it's not something you typically see.
Yeah.
Will they do it? Probably not.
Right. So there was one other thing that happened in this episode that we did not speak about. The current quarterback of the team, who was the original quarterback until Jonathan showed up. Jonathan showed him up. He was put down to second string. Now we see that Jonathan is second string, and that kid is back in his glory as the head, the quarterback of the team. He's giving Jonathan a hard time, but still buddying up to his brother. And the problem with it is he's had his arm broken twice at this point. In one season, he had his arm broken 2 times, right? So the coach isn't really playing him, and he's like, yeah, get out there and do some running plays. And he's like, okay. Now, from a football standpoint, if you're going to have your throwing quarterback, it's kind of good that he's the bigger guy. Stronger, can probably throw further, can handle a hit, can probably push the line, right? So that's not out of the ordinary, and then have the smaller, quicker, more agile kid be the running game, that's not completely out of the ordinary for a football team, in my opinion. So, like, that part of it, throwing it away. Now, the part that he did bring up, which is he's trying to work out his arm to get back into full shape and to be able to fight for that quarterback, because that starting position. The other kid is also ripping weights like a madman. He's doing 300-pound, presses, multiple presses.
I think we all know why.
Jonathan is like, yeah, he's a roid head. He's taking steroids. There's no way he goes away at the beginning of the summer, and comes back with that much gain. Now, it is possible, but not that kid. Not that kid.
Normally, you say yes, it's probably steroids.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Smallville, and so I'm going to say it has to do with the kryptonite.
XK, nope. I think it is. I think it's going to be. This is going to be their PSA moment about kids taking enhancement performing drugs, and I don't think it's going to be about the X kryptonite, simply because they would have to be administering what's basically a massive, like, deadly narcotic to a teenager in a TV show. Which is, they do that, but I don't think they're going to go that route. I think they're going to make it something.
Who's to say that people know that he's doing it? He could have found a whole bunch of it on his own and been doing it privately.
I don't think that
it's a story.
The gains that they're showing.
Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
The kid is upset that he lost his starting job as quarterback.
Right.
His starting role as quarterback. He's mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
He finds a bunch of kryptonite. What's he do? Starts to use it. Starts to feel better. He starts to feel stronger and like he can do things. And that's what leads to that. It's not out of the ordinary. I would not be surprised by this at all. So to say that, oh, you just got some, the kid is randomly doing this and succeeding. Yeah, I totally foresee. I mean, that's stuff that would happen on Smallville, the old.
Yeah, the old version. But see, my problem with it is one, he'd have to get it if he were to find it, per se, like you're saying. He'd have to find it. He'd have to learn how to process it. He would have to learn how to turn it into a huffable, and then he would have to take it. But X kryptonite manifests right away. If he's taking it, it's going to make him aggressive and dangerous right away, not have any control over what he's doing, because we've seen what it's done to teenagers until they're trained.
Here we go. We already know, because of that dude was huffing it earlier. I think somebody had mentioned that it's on the streets or whatever.
The black market.
Yeah, on the black market. That's where he got it from.
That kid ain't into the black market, in my opinion. That kid's stupid. He's dumb. He's a dumb kid.
But that's the thing.
But
I don't know why that would make any difference there, because he just said he's dumb. Do it. But also, he's a 17-year-old kid that's upset that he lost his job as a quarterback and wants to do anything to get that starting role back. And so, if that means taking this stuff and getting these powers, of course he's going to do it.
Yeah, that is completely true.
It's not beyond the realm of possible.
That is completely true. However, what we know of X kryptonite, if you're taking it, you can tell they're taking it. Like, it literally, like, turns your eyes orange. It gives you, like, super strength and, like, uncontrollable strength. I'm not seeing that in what they showed us. But with that being said, with that being said, Jonathan is like, he's on steroids. And for him to flat out say he's on steroids and not say he must be taking XK or something like that, I feel like they would have, if Jonathan knows what's going on, which he apparently does, then they would have had him say it. You know what I mean? Like, I think, and they would have probably put out there somewhere that X kryptonite has become an issue in their town. Like, you know what I mean? Like, normally there would be something to kind of indicate that this would be a issue for them, but I don't know. Either way, Jonathan's trying to work his way up. My thing about this is, and I said this when it happened, when he broke his arm the last time, it was because he caught Superboy's punch. Do you remember that? So he went to punch the kid from Metropolis High School, and Jonathan reached out and baseballed his hand and stopped him from doing it, and that's what broke his arm, right?
Okay.
So that was 3 months ago because they broke it in the last, I think it was like the second to last episode. So that was 3 months ago. This kid's arm has healed from a multiple fracture after catching his brother's superpowered punch. They're going to change him into Super Lad. I'm almost positive of it. They're going to find out very slowly and very minutely that he doesn't have the same, like the full abilities that Jordan has, but he's going to have some sort of superpower before this is all said and done. I think that it's going to play out that he's either got the capability to withstand, like he's invulnerable to superpower, like Superman's powers, like he can handle them. He's just not big enough yet. Or they're going to give him powers and there's going to be super twins, just not the ones you want. No space monkey. Sorry, buddy.
Well, he is still technically.
Yeah, it's canon. So. It's canon. I know. So terrible. Anyway.
All right, I think that's going to end it for this video. We do want to thank you for watching, and on behalf of Vic,
that's me.
I'm Corey. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.